biggest difference between traditional class and standards-based is that with standards-based you have to be self-sufficient because the teacher isn't going to be lecturing you, she's going to be giving you the resources for you to utilize by yourself.
Ways that a standards-based class has been different than a traditional class is that you're more independent from the teacher and the teacher gives you resources.
So in standards-based classes, there's a lot of like actually learning the material. In a traditional class, you can do the work and do the tests and do all right on the test, but never actually learn something and still get a good grade. Versus in standards, it's really focusing on actually knowing what you're learning about.
In standards-based, you have a lot more freedom as a student, but it also comes with a lot more responsibility because now that it's self-paced, you can choose to work ahead and get your work done well ahead of the other people in your class, but you also have to take more responsibility for your work.
There's a lot more responsibility on the student in a standards-based class. You have to actually be own the knowledge. So you have to do a lot more out of class, and you have to maximize your time in class to really make sure that you're actually making gains, learning the material.
Some of the challenges in meeting the proficiency-based classes is that you have to try, and you have to be responsible for like everything that you do. And I mean, if you mess up on a test or something, you can retake the test and you can do corrections, and then you have free time after school. You can come in and work with a teacher to get as much help as needed.
Meeting the challenges, it's a lot more work to, well, not necessarily work, but it's like harder to get above and beyond the standard, because an A in a traditional class is like knowing what you have to know. But in a standards-based class, that's like what's required. So to get an A, you have to show something that like goes above and beyond.
Piece of advice that I would give some incoming freshmen about meeting standards is to use the teacher as a resource and make sure that you don't waste your time at all.
I'd say be assertive in learning and going to request knowledge from teachers. Like if you don't understand something, it's gonna come back to bite you if you never get that knowledge. So like, go talk to a teacher and go get help outside the classroom or inside the classroom from other students to make sure that you actually own the knowledge.
A piece of advice is if you need help, don't be afraid to ask.
Hi there, I'm Mr. Thornton. I'm a math teacher on the blue team at the Westbrook High School. I'm here to talk a little bit about standards-based curriculum. I think one of the big things that I notice with the standards-based is that you're going to see a lot of different groups of students going at different paces. And what I like about that is you'll have groups that can go faster, that I'm able to teach a little differently. You'll have groups that will go a little slower, that I can also teach a little differently. In the past, we had one class, and basically most of us teachers were teaching to the middle group. So when I was teaching something, some kids already knew the subject, whatever I was teaching, and they were probably a little bored. Some kids I was probably going too fast for, and they were a little bit over their head. But then there was a half that I was probably reaching.
Standards in a high school English classroom are a little bit different than standards in other subject areas because it's not like a math or a science where one piece of information builds upon another and you're learning sets of discrete skills. English standards are all about deepening and evolving your understanding and applying your skills in a variety of different situations to a variety of works of literature, to a variety of dialogues within the classroom. So we've selected groups of books for students to engage with around common themes where they will demonstrate their understanding of the reading, writing, and thinking standards of the Common Core across multiple texts throughout the year so they can apply their skills in different areas and really demonstrate true mastery and understanding.
A standards-based classroom is not stand and deliver. It's very organic and holistic, and it's real learning and real thinking, and it's integrated. It's like an art room. It's like a studio art room where everybody is working on something sort of the same, but also in their own individual way, and there's real understanding in order to step forward.
The first thing you understand is in a standards-based class, we assess understanding. Not 1 through 100 how many points you got, but do you get it? So you really have to buckle down and truly own the material, which means you have to do things like homework, which comes to another thing. If I was going to give you one advice to be really successful in a standards-based class, is you have to be self-motivated. You have to self-reflect and ask yourself, what do I need to be doing for homework? You should be doing about an hour and a half a week outside of class, and if you do that, you'll do well.
I use the analogy that when we're doing this is that if we went out had a race, not everybody would tie for first. Doesn't mean somebody's a better athlete because they're faster. Same thing for learning. Learning comes at different speeds. And what I like to think is that I'm getting deeper with the students who need certain things. So the students that are going fast, they're going to get a little bit different, and I'm going to challenge them a little bit more. The students who need a little bit more, we're going to go at it maybe at a different pace and go at it a different way than maybe I did the different groups.
Art classes have always been standard-based, and so it's hard for me to see this as a difference. It's not a difference for me. When you're in the art room, you get immediate feedback the moment you pick up a material, and you have to know what you're doing in order to be able to proceed. You can't just memorize things. You have to actually learn, and you have to engage in the whole process, the creative process, the construction process. Everything about it is standards-based.
I see the challenges in meeting proficiency standards actually as an advantage for a lot of students. In a traditional classroom, you would complete the assignment to the best of your ability, and then the class moves on and life moves on. But this way with standards, if you still have areas that you need to work on, you have to go back and work on those areas until you get them, until you're really able to demonstrate mastery and really understand. It's not a matter of class moving on and life moving on without you.
The advice that I would give to incoming freshmen on standards-based learning is to be excited about learning, because that's what standards-based teaching, learning, and education is about. It's about being confident that you know what you need to do and setting your pace and understanding what you're doing. And it's not just memorization. It's a more active type of learning. And to me, it's a much more interesting way to learn.
In a standard-based class, a lot more responsibility goes on the student. You have to ask yourself, what do I know? What don't I know? And what do I need to move forward to do that? What are my resources? I have the teacher, I have my online resources, I have my neighbors next to me who might be able to help me out. You really have to own the process. So in a standards-based system, they're putting more on the students, and you have to be asking yourself those questions. What do I need to do? How can I be successful with this topic? What don't I understand? And how do I go about figuring that out? So in a nutshell, standards puts a little more responsibility on the student, requires you to do work so that you show understanding. And if you do all those things, I think you'll be pretty successful, and I think you'll like the system. So hopefully I'll see you in class in a couple of years. I wish you all the best, and go get them.
And the other thing I would say that's really important is to realize that no longer when June comes up, if you're passing, you get a grade. You pass this course when you've completed all the standards. Last year, some people completed standards in May. Some people finished over the summer. And we still have people from last year that are working on them now. So it's the pace, the effort that you put in. And same thing this year. So I think coming in prepared, willing to do homework, willing to take notes, willing to keep a nice, neat, organized notebook, I think these are all positives that will help you as you come into freshman year at Westbrook High School. We look forward to it. I think it's a challenge. You're learning good stuff, and I think it's only going to help you in the future.